Kenya is a nation in the midst of rapid transformation. The East African country has a growing population of more than 40 million people and one of the fastest developing economies on the continent. But 75% of Kenyans do not have regular access to electricity. While businesses and industry experience frequent power cuts and energy rationing. Some people here are looking towards the rugged terrain of the Great Rift Valley for solutions to Kenya's pressing energy needs. The volcanic rift cuts a 2,000-kilometer-long incision through East Africa. It is formed by the slow splitting of the African continent into two large tectonic plates. The rift brings the heat of the Earth's core closer to the surface, which manifests itself in the numerous hot water springs and steam fumaroles found all along the rift. It is this geothermal energy that Kenyans believe can provide a large part of the energy they need.
Now we're in Olkaria, and this is where we have the geothermal power plants, the biggest plant in Africa.
Kenya is a pioneer and a leader in Africa when it comes to geothermal energy. The Olkaria 2 geothermal power plant produces up to 105 megawatts of electricity and sends it to the national grid. Nearby are Olkaria 1, the first geothermal power station ever built in Africa, and Olkaria 3. Geophysicists like Anna Wairimu Mwangi keep track of the hot water and steam deep under the ground.
Around Olkaria, we use several geophysical methods to try and find places where there's the geothermal resource. Finally, when we do data analysis and interpretation, where we can locate the wells for drilling for steam to be connected to the power plants.
Highly pressurized steam comes out of 20 wells and is directed through a system of pipes towards 3 turbines. This system can generate electricity non-stop at near full capacity, a feat difficult to achieve with other renewable energy sources which are reliant on certain weather conditions. Combined, the 3 Olkaria geothermal power plants generate about 200 megawatts, or 17% of the electricity produced in Kenya. Geothermal practitioners from all over East Africa have come to learn from Kenya's experience as part of the activities of the United Nations University Geothermal Training Program. These engineers and scientists are at the front line of the current push towards large-scale geothermal energy development in East Africa. They are planning to tap into the resources that exist all along the rift, such as the large geothermal fields that have been discovered under the Menengai caldera, the crater of a massive ancient volcano. To get to this energy source, engineers like Siche Chemwote drilled deep wells into the ground.
Actually, at the moment, we are just accelerating the development of geothermal. Initially, wells were drilled to about 2,200 meters, but currently we are drilling most of our wells to 3,000 meters, and we are getting more production than the wells that we used to drill shallow.
Once the well has been drilled, it is discharged for about 2 months until it stabilizes its output of hot water and steam. Geothermal reservoir scientists like Janet Jalagat-Suwai analyze the temperature and pressure of the well and determine how much electricity they will be able to get out of it. The average geothermal well in this area produces about 5 megawatts, and some can produce considerably more.
It feels good for me that I'm part of the team which is gearing to generating up to 5,000 megawatts by 2030.
Kenya's policymakers have set ambitious development goals for 2030 so that everybody here can satisfy their current and future energy needs.
We need a lot of energy, that is power for driving our economy, to boost our development. It's in the big vision of having Kenya have enough energy to drive its economy.
The big vision is to increase geothermal energy production by 25 times over the next couple of decades, ultimately accounting for about 30% of Kenya's targeted energy mix in 2030. Kenya's quest for energy is experienced intimately by the people in the nearby town of Naivasha. For them, the struggle to access energy is a part of daily life. Lacking sufficient energy sources, people consume charcoal, which is often produced by chopping down nearby protected forests, like those at the Hell's Gate National Park.
The charcoal extraction, they come in and cut trees, and they do it in the huge numbers and areas. And that charcoal, when it is through, is sold to the local markets. And what we've been saying is that it's impacting negatively to our habitat.
The Olkaria geothermal power plants are also within the Hell's Gate National Park. Their ecological footprint is minimal when compared to the extraction and exploitation of fossil fuels, nuclear power, or large hydroelectric dams. Nonetheless, the deployment of geothermal infrastructure does put some pressure at a local level on the environment and communities living near geothermal energy projects. The network of pipes and roads disturbs the free movement of animals, while drilling requires the use of large quantities of water. This is sometimes taken from places already overexploited for other human uses, like Lake Naivasha, a wetland of global significance, which is protected because of its bird life. The Maasai community of all Olkaria are semi-nomadic pastoralists living near the Olkaria 1 power plant.
We live a nomadic life system. We move from one place to another looking for pasture. We are fully dependent on livestock. We don't cultivate. Because of the pipeline network crossing from one corner of the locality to the other, that denies the access of animals to certain areas. There is air pollution. It has been already realized that hydrogen sulfide, a high concentration of that, is poisonous to the human health. So there are a lot of fear psychologically in the minds of the community, because this awareness has been raised.
The power plant operators consider the current emissions of hydrogen sulfate to be safe. But ultimately, the solution is to capture this gas, something that geothermal plants in some countries are already required to do. There are also other ways to mitigate the environmental impacts of geothermal energy. In Kenya, the area surrounding geothermal wells is restored and reforested after drilling. Newer geothermal power plants, such as Olkaria 2, produce less noise and their emissions are better controlled. This power plant also re-injects the byproduct geothermal water into the ground.
The best way is to re-inject it back into the reservoir that can be heated back, and we can possibly use it back after a certain period of time.
As geothermal energy projects develop in the countries along the Rift Valley in order to provide the thousands of megawatts envisioned, it is imperative that all measures are taken to minimize environmental impacts so as to achieve the full potential of geothermal as a clean energy source. Kenya is using geothermal energy in innovative ways too. The Oserian flower farm has about 200 hectares of greenhouses, producing up to 1 million flowers a day. At 2,000 meters of altitude, this area can get very cold. So 50 hectares of rose-producing greenhouses are kept warm by circulating hot geothermal water through pipes. They also use part of the carbon dioxide produced along with the geothermal steam to enrich the environment of the greenhouse, which results in more flowers, which are also of better quality and take less time to bloom. It all comes from a single geothermal well, which is also used to produce 2.5 megawatts of electricity. This is enough energy to power this massive operation.
We believe we have over 7,000 megawatts electrical.
Beyond the importance of geothermal technologies and infrastructure, the development of this renewable energy source depends on people. At the annual course organized in Kenya by the UN University Geothermal Training Program, African experts build their capacity to further develop this energy source in their home countries.
If you want to have a serious development, you cannot only do it through consultants. You have to know yourself what you're doing. That's a key thing to a real success in geothermal development. Taking the training here to the countries themselves has allowed us to make a much larger effort in this and really help these countries to build their own capacity.
From its base in Iceland, the UN University Geothermal Training Program has been training scientists and engineers from Africa and numerous developing countries for more than 30 years, taking advantage of Iceland's cutting-edge knowledge and long history of using this energy source. Kenyans trained under this program are now leading the way on geothermal energy development in the Great African Rift Valley.
We are increasing capacity. The industry is becoming bigger. There are many fields that we are exploring now. It is now upon us, the Kenyans, to train also other people.
It is good to invest in geothermal because we are investing not only for ourselves but also for the future generations that are going to come.